Hey, broadcasting live from the big Mecca in Niagara Falls, Canada, from Studio J1, it's Peet Reet.
It is, and we have a special guest today.
Yeah, we always do.
We do,
yeah,
yes.
This guy's really special.
He
we
is.
We love comedians. And
Well,
we love good
hello.
comedians, yeah.
Of course we love comedians.
Oh, I thought you were talking about you.
Well, I wish I was a comedian, but
You are.
at 15 years old, this gentleman started his stand-up career as a stand-up comic and writer.
Hold on. Time out. Did you call him a gentleman? I've watched this stuff. He's not a gentleman.
Well, I'm being nice right now.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Later on, we can
Okay,
get,
all right.
crude and rude, whatever. At 18, he was discovered on Catch a Rising Star, and he's done things like hosting late night with great guests, like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, Chevy Chase and
Paul
Hank
Shaffer.
Azaria. Yeah, like amazing people. And now he has his own club in Aruba.
Yeah, which we kind of like just invited ourselves.
We did too.
Off air a little bit, yeah. So. And he said, yes, you guys have an
He
open
did.
invitation.
Yeah, so we're going.
Yeah, we're going.
Welcome, Ray Ellin.
Hello. Great to be here on your show. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here.
So, I mean, like, you're this really talented guy. Like, you do everything. I'll tell you what. I watched your impersonations. And how many do you do?
So I probably could do, I don't know, maybe 20 different characters, but some of them are a little dated at this point. Like, people don't want to hear Bill Cosby anymore.
No.
So there's a lot of stuff that I do that I don't really do on stage anymore. But I'm more likely to do some original characters than older impressions. Because also, even like when the 25th anniversary of Goodfellas happened, 20th or 25th, then it was great to pull out, Karen. You could do that for a little while. But some things are just a little have been put to bed.
So what do you like doing the most then? Impressions or just stand up and coming up with your ideas?
My favorite thing is when I'm on stage with a live audience and playing off the crowd, just improvising with the crowd, because like you have jokes that you've done, 1,000 times, and you love them, but you get a little sick of them. They're probably like children, But just playing with a crowd and discovering something new with that audience, that is probably the most fun thing because it's always, fresh and new, and so that's probably my favorite thing is the ad-libbing.
Okay, so I watched a lot of your stuff, and I was killing myself laughing. But every time I watched you do an impression, I saw this specific impression I thought you should have done. Do you know? Has anybody ever said that you should do this person and you've never done it?
Who's that?
Has anybody ever said you should be doing somebody that you've never done? Yes, that has happened. People have mentioned Jay Leno before. That's exactly it. I was going to say,
Really?
Jay, honest to God, every time I was watching you, I saw Jay Leno, I said, you got to do Jay Leno. And that's exactly why I asked you the question.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know. Maybe that's what he would do.
I'll tell you something. Watch him a little bit, and I guarantee you're going to have him.
You'll get it. Yeah. Is there like a artist that you wanted to impersonate that you couldn't?
There's a lot. I mean, there's people whose voice register can go so far high. I mean, Celine Dion, I would love to be able to impersonate her, but that's just completely impossible for me to do. Paul Shaffer, actually, he really has a distinct voice, and he was a guest on my late night show a few times. He actually composed a theme song, and I can't do Paul either, and I wish I could. I think his kids would be very impressed if I could pull that off.
He's a Canadian boy too.
Yes, he is. He might be he is one of my top 3 favorite Canadians, I would say.
Yeah, and he's a great entertainer. I mean, he can do it all. You only ever saw him playing the music, right? But he can do a whole lot more than that.
When he started out, he did Godspell when I was 14 years old in downtown Toronto, and he did all the music for the whole show. It was an incredible show.
And he's funny too.
Oh,
He's incredibly talented guy, really generous guy, and I was thrilled. Like when he ended up doing my show because I had Gilbert Godfrey on and Daryl Hammond at that point, and I think Chevy Chase had done it. And he left me a voicemail. He's like, Ray, Paul Shaffer, I hear you have this cool show. I'd love to do it. And I was just blown away. I was so excited about that. And he came on and he did this theme song, and then he came on again. He did a cameo with Richard Belzer, and another time. And he's the best. Love him.
Excellent. Well, you know what? We're going to come back in just a minute. I actually want to ask you about Chevy Chase when he came on your show, but we'll do that when we come back on the Peet Reet Show.
It's Peet Reet here, and we're speaking with Ray Ellin, writer, comedian. He does it all, impersonator.
Yeah, great talk show host. So
Yeah.
his talk show host is no longer on. It was called TalkNet. I thought it was a great show. You had some great guests on there, but you had Chevy Chase. And on that show, I mean, it was fun, but I didn't realize, did he actually really go over and play the piano?
When Chevy came on Late Net, I had remembered when he did the movie Caddyshack. He had played the keyboard a little bit and like riffed to this great song, and I was dying for him to do it on my show. I was a little apprehensive. I was a little bit nervous of how he would react, if he still liked playing piano. I didn't want to push it, rub him the wrong way. And we started talking about it on the show, and he goes, "Hey, you want to hear it?" And I'm like, "Yes, I would love to hear that." And he just got up and he pushed my keyboard player over to the side. And he just started playing a little bit from the song, from the movie. I was born to love you, and it was just great. I mean, it blew me away because I mean Caddyshack is such an amazing movie. To have him doing a scene from that 5 feet away from me was just amazing. It was really just mind-boggling.
What was Leonard Nimoy like? Because you've interviewed him before.
You know what? Leonard Nimoy might have been my favorite guest. Not because I was this crazy Star Trek fan, but he was, after reading about him, he's had such an amazing career. Been doing it for, over 50 years and done everything: writing, directing, producing, acting. He's just an amazing. He cut a record album. He showed up an hour before the show, was, to do photos and that sort of thing. He did an hour-long interview, which we're only supposed to do 20 minutes. Did an hour-long interview, and then he stuck around for an hour afterwards, and he took photos and signed things for the live studio audience. So he was so gracious and had so many amazing stories. He was such a kind person, and he was fascinating. So Leonard was probably my he might have been. I hate taking favorites because I like people for different reasons, but he was just so awesome. And we kept in touch after that. We remained friendly, and if I sent him an email, he would respond right away. So Nimoy was the best.
I remember him in a cowboy movie. Now, can you imagine? You think back now, right?
Really?
You can only see, he was in a cowboy movie wearing a cowboy hat, and you think, how to get over those ears? No, that was one.
That's right. Yeah, giddy up, partner, giddy up.
Who was like that for us was Jay Leno.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely humble. Yeah, exactly, Jay.
Yeah, we loved him. He was so gracious.
As a matter of fact, I think he was almost late for his show because he didn't want to leave. He was having so much fun with us.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
I think my favorite, super successful comedians that I've ever met, I'd say the top two in order are Leno and Jim Carrey. And the reason is, so I met Jay, I was taping a thing for NBC, I don't know, this is 10, 12 years ago, and I met him in the parking lot, and I just said, I introduced myself and said, I'm from Boston, he's from Boston. And I said, I'm just going to take the show in the studio, whatever. And he said, nice to meet you, and that was it. And he started driving away, and then he stopped the car, and he honked the horn, and he waved me back over to him, and he gave me 10 minutes of this great advice. And it was totally unexpected. It was just really, he was just a delight. He was just really friendly and terrific. And then Jim, I was at a Saturday Night Live party. You know, after every episode, there are parties. I used to go to them every week. I don't party as much as I did at the time. And when I went, I was probably like, I don't know, 22, 23. I just moved to New York. And he was there. And I only really want to go talk to somebody if I really, love their work. And I just went over and I said, hey, sorry to bother you. I'm a comedian here in New York. And I love what you do. And that was really it. He could not have been better. He was asking me so much about, where you're working and how's it going and how long you've been doing stand-up and blah, blah, blah. And then some drunk guy came over and kind of interrupted us. And was like, yeah, hey, Jim Carrey, let me buy you a drink. And I was bummed because, like, this guy's interrupting this dream conversation. I mean, I was a kid, just out of school. And Jim, he puts his arm around me and he says to the guy, he goes, all right, look, you can buy me a drink, but only if you buy one for my good friend Ray. And it was just so it just made me feel great. And he didn't have to do that. He could have walked away and just gotten out of the whole situation. And he was just such a kind, warm person. And I mean, it was unforgettable. He's great. People have asked me often, like, who are your five favorite celebrities you've ever met? And that's the first name I think of.
A good old Canadian.
Was he like that at home? Was he like that at home?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We're all friendly. Come on.
Yeah. On my occasional meeting, he's been a really great guy and easy to talk to, and actually really down to earth. And yes, when he's and he's not funny all the time. He can
he can be normal.
He can be pretty intellectual.
People ask me that all the time. Is he ever normal? I say, yeah, he's normal.
We're having a great time here talking to Ray Ellin, and we'll be back in just a moment on the Peet and Reet Show. Stay with us. What show?
Peet and Reet.
Peet and Reet Show. Director John always ruins our fun. We're laughing, having fun.
I know.
5,
Off
4,
air.
3.
Yeah, I know, right?
I feel like you're in a TV station or something.
We are. Lock him in the closet or something.
I forgot we're talking to Ray. Hey, Ray, how you doing down there in New York City?
Fantastic. It is wonderful.
Now, you spent a lot of time there, but you're heading out to L.A. September 5th, right?
Yes. I'm going to go out to L.A. on the 5th for a week, do some shows out there. I'm working on this new TV show for Comedy Central called The Week at the Cellar. We're shooting the pilot next month, and it's a topical weekly stand-up show I'm really excited about. And we're going to shoot it at the Comedy Cellar here in New York City, which right now is probably it's the most famous comedy club in America right now. I mean, it's amazing. It's like on a regular basis, you're working with Louis C.K. and Jon Stewart, and Amy Schumer, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Ray Romano, Jerry Seinfeld. So we're going to shoot this TV show there, and I'm very excited about it. I'm really pumped.
So I ask most comedians this question. A lot of times you're going out night after night doing the same material. And I understand. I mean, I understand sometimes when people get into drugs because it's like you got to go. No, I got to do the same thing again. How about you? Do you do the same material all the time? Do you change it up? And if you don't, how do you keep it fresh?
There's certain jokes that you always find yourself doing, and yes, you totally get sick of them. That's why I like to if I can just ad lib and riff off the crowd. I love that the most. I mean, to me, if you end up with somebody in the audience who's from Boston, let's say. And next thing you know, you can talk all about the Bruins and the Sox and the Patriots and all of our fans up north in Canada who are also fans of the Bruins. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if that happens, it makes me very happy to be there in the moment. That it's something new and fresh to get to talk about.
Now, something you're doing now is the Gong Show. I heard.
Yes. So I host the official live stage version of the Gong Show, and the late great Chuck Barris about 5 years ago, he gave me his blessing. He hosted the original TV show and he created it, he gave me his blessing to host this official version of the show, and it's great. It really captures the spirit of the original TV show. Just like it's good natured. It's not mean. It's not a roast. So I host. There's 3 judges. There's a live band. So we do that. The show tours. So we're doing in East Hampton Tuesday night, August 29th, a gorgeous theater called Guild Hall. So it's really fun. I love hosting the show, and I look different. I'm wearing, I have a wig. My hair is not right for the show, so I look more like Chuck Barris did from when he hosted it back in like the 70s, 80s, and it's just a wacky, wild, fun show. Actually, Paul Shaffer came once when we did it in New York City, and he came to hang out and watch it, and it was just cool that he came to hang out. It was fun.
So how do you pick the contestants for the show? Are they just people off the street or people you've interviewed before? How does that happen?
Well, anyone can audition. There's a casting director for the show, because it's like an official stage version of the show. So you have some acts that are great, and you have other acts that are great but gongable. You know what I mean? Like the guy who makes balloon animals as he's doing a striptease. It's very entertaining, but he's going to get gonged, inevitably, probably. But
way before those balloons get popped, I hope.
What's that?
Way before those balloons get popped, I hope.
Yeah, believe me, it's a real treat to see how he pops them. So it's the Gong shows it's a really cool, it's a fun event. It's a really good time. I would love to do it in Toronto if I could. It'd be a blast.
Did you hear that, Toronto? Let's get them up here.
Absolutely.
Even Niagara. We got places here. We got venues here. We're getting more at the time.
Big venues here in Niagara.
Yeah, love to see you up here. So have you ever bombed in a show?
Yes, I have. Other than this interview, yes.
I know it's tough to be on the Peet Reet show. We get it.
You guys are fantastic. It's the Skype people that I'm having issues with. I remember when I was in college, I performed at a club in Boston, and I bombed. It was it's memorable. I was probably 19, and it was packed. I mean, really packed, and no one was laughing. Like if you do a joke and no one's laughing, it's on you. 99% of the time, it's on you. If you do a whole set and no one laughed the whole time, it's 1,000% you. So it was just brutal. There was another time where I remember I bombed. I performed at a college. I used to tour and perform at a lot of colleges. But it was a thankless setup. Like we were performing at lunchtime in the cafeteria, and they had set up a pool table right next to the stage. So kids were shooting pool and eating lunch, and it was just agony. So I expected that was going to be a bomb, and yeah, it was pretty bad. And there, in fact, I remember one kid looked up at me while I was talking and just said, "Do you mind? I'm eating." Okay.
So how do you recover? I say I'm going to be a comedian. You wanted to be a comedian, obviously, and then you do that, and you go, how do you get back into it?
Yeah.
It's tough. It's very humbling. I mean, you have one amazing show where you go tape a TV show and you feel like you're treated like a star, and you're just pampered, and then the following week you're performing for 12 kids in Poughkeepsie. That's the reality. The business it's up and down, and that's okay. After the first TV show I hosted, it was a few years before I did the next thing that I thought was sort of substantial. I produced and directed a movie called The Latin Legends of Comedy that I sold to 20th Century Fox. But it was a few years in between hosting the first TV show that I did in New York to that film. And you're busy, you're doing stand-up, you're doing shows, but you're not really doing anything that you feel is popping or really, kind of exciting. So that happens, that's the nature of the business. I've heard interviews with your brother, with Jim, and he was there's a lot of downtime, in between a film or a project, and he's a genius, and it happens even to him. So that's the nature of the business,
Yeah, it happens to everyone. But you've got a new place in Aruba now, Aruba Raised. How did that come about?
Yes. The true story is there was a female fan who used to come to a lot of shows of mine. She started coming. She would come to shows in New York City. Then she'd show up in like Long Island and Connecticut and New Jersey, and it was starting to get weird. And one day she goes, "Hey, I have a condo in Aruba. Would you want to go with me?" And I said, "No. This is just too bizarre." So a year went by, and I realized she was just a very nice person. She was this nice person who liked coming to shows and asked me if I want to go to Aruba. And I had stopped working on a project around that time, and I was burnt out. I was kind of glad. It was this web-related thing I was doing. And I really needed to get out of town. And I saw her, and I said, "Hey, if that offer still stands, I'd love to go to Aruba." And we went together. Totally platonic.
Good. Very
call.
honorable.
And I was a real gentleman. And she showed me all around the island. We were there for a week, and I fell in love with Aruba. It's gorgeous. It's safe. It's fun. You can drink the water. The beaches are amazing. And I kept going to Aruba every month for a year. I would go alone. I took my girlfriend at the time, whatever. But I'd go every month. It was just this healing, healthy, amazing place to go. And finally, I was like, well, how can I spend more time here? And I had the idea to open up the comedy club, Aruba Rays. So I opened it up in one of the resorts, did shows there off and on for a year. It went great. That resort was sold. They gutted my showroom completely. And then I reopened it at another place like a month later. And so we do 100 shows a year. So it's 100 shows a year. It's myself and 2 or 3 other New York comedians. Everybody's been on, The Tonight Show or The Late Show or Kimmel or Saturday Night Live or whatever. So it's a really great show in this like cozy showroom. It's really ideal. It's like a really nice club setting. And if people want to visit it, they can go to arubacomedy.com. And we actually do get quite a few Canadians in Aruba at the show.
Great.
We want somewhere warm to go. That's why.
Exactly.
Well, you have open invitations and hotel rooms for each of you.
Awesome.
Beautiful. We're in. We got to take Director John, unfortunately. He has to come too, so somebody's got to shoot.
He can sleep at the foot of your bed.
Guess he's in your room.
We like it. He's in your room.
Listen, we're so happy for you, and things are going so well for you. I wish you great luck with the pilot. How do people catch up with you if they want to check you out?
They can go to raycomedy.com, or if they want to go on Twitter or Facebook, it's Ray Ellin, RayEllin, and on Instagram, it's Ray Comedy. So there you have it.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray.
Yeah, what a treat talking to you today. Wish you all the best. And for all of you out there, catch up with Ray and go check him out. Honestly, just search him, and you're going to guarantee
You'll love it.
You're going to love it.
You'll love it.
So, see you next time on the Peet Reet Show, and God bless you. Ray, that was great.
Yeah, that was awesome.
No, it's fantastic. Enjoyed it. Really did. Yeah. So we're gonna catch up. Hopefully get you up here somewhere. And if you're coming by this way, let us know. You got our numbers, right? I'll get John to send you my number, and then I'd love to. Our goal is to actually, hopefully, get a studio in one of the big venues here, and make it into a bar blasting studio. So when we're not shooting, the bar will be open and feed people, and then on the nights we shoot, hopefully one day we're doing that like 5 nights a week.
You could also have comedy in there.
Yep, comedy and stuff. We're looking to do.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much, buddy. Stay in touch with us, please. All right, have a great night.
Awesome.
Ciao.